and here are the following webinar protocol. For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room, and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program today. Before we start our agenda, let me reinform the webinar protocol to join this event. First, please adjust your name or ID screen using the given format on the slide. Second, during the event, please turn off your audio and only turn it on when the moderator gives you the chance. Third, please turn on your camera. Fourth, please ensure your network has a stable connection. Fifth, please adjust your seat position comfortably and prevent the backlight effect. I will also read out the important information for today. First, please fill in the attendance form on this link, which is bit.ly/attendance_R2SEP 2021 that you can also see on the slide. Second, fill in the feedback form. Will be shared 15 minutes before the session ends and will be closed after 1 hour. Third, attendance and feedback is compulsory for these purposes. First, for mandatory attendance for ITS master's and doctoral students new intake. Second, certificate of participation, which is eligible for international participants who have 60% attendance. And third, STEM for it, which is eligible for ITS undergraduate students. So welcome to Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Session on today, Thursday, 23rd of September 2021. I am Intan from ITS Global Engagement, and today I will be your Master of Ceremony for the session of RESEP. You are now participating in Soft Engineering stream of RESEP. Please do not forget to fill your attendance at the link that will be sent by our committee on the Zoom chat box, and the link will be closed in 15 minutes from now on. Participants who wish to ask questions during the Q&A session, please send your question at the link that will be also sent by our committee via the Zoom chat box. Alternatively, you may raise your hand during the Q&A session to ask your question directly. So before we start our agenda, allow me to deliver our schedule today as follows. First, introduction to the moderator and speaker. Second, the lecture session. Third, Q&A session. Fourth, certificate awarding. Fifth, closing of RESEP. So before we move on to the next agenda, please allow me to elaborate about today's lecture. Today's lecture theme in the Soft Engineering stream of RESEP is titled Finding Research Idea, which will be delivered by our speaker, Associate Professor Poon Chong Chu, and Bumar Artusolihah, PhD, will be the one conducting today's session as our moderator. So next, let me introduce our moderator for today. So Bumar Artusolihah has the academic and professional experience as a lecturer and researcher in Industrial Engineering Department ITS, and has the educational background in doctoral degree in Mechanical System Engineering, Tokyo Metropolitan University, Japan, master's degree in Industrial Engineering in ITS Indonesia, and also in University of Porto, and also bachelor degree in Industrial Engineering ITS Indonesia. She has the interest of research in strategy formulation, servitization, and product service system. Now that you are informed about our moderator, Without further ado, let's proceed to the main agenda. With Bung Maratus as our moderator, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Intan, for the introduction. Good afternoon, Professor Chu and all participants. I am Maratus from the Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering, ITS. I'm honored and grateful to be with you this afternoon as the moderator of our RECEP session with the topic of finding research ideas. And during the next 60 minutes, we will learn together from Professor Chu about this topic, as it is a preliminary yet pivotal step of our research journey. But before we start, I would like to introduce you to our speaker by briefly explaining his resume. Okay, so Professor Boon Chung Chu is the Associate Professor at the Department of Technology Management UTM Malaysia. He is the Deputy Director of Strategy of Internationalization UTM International Center. And currently, he is the Adjunct Professor at our university, ITS. Professor Chu holds a PhD in the Science and Technology Studies from the University of Edinburgh, and he holds a master and also bachelor degree from University Technology Malaysia. He has research interests including the following topics, such as renewable energy development and deployment, clean technology innovation and introduction, sustainability practices or sustainability management, blue technology innovation and management, and also the carbon management. Since Professor Chu is already with us in the Zoom, so let me greet him first. Hello, Professor Chu. How are you, Professor?
Yes, I'm good. Can you hear me clearly, Dr. Maratus? Yes, thank you.
I can hear you very clear, Professor. Thank you very much again for your time and your continued support for this program. Okay, without further ado, I would like to give the Zoom to Professor Chu to start his presentation. So, Professor Chu, the Zoom is yours.
Thank you very much. So I would like to utilize the share screen platform here, and in order to share with you what are the materials that I prepared. Well, today I would like to do something a bit different. Previously, most of the lectures or webinar sessions, they love to do by utilizing PowerPoints, and after that they click, and then after that the students will follow up from there. But for today, I would like to do something special because I would like to spend more time, by the end of the session for the Q&A. And I welcome all sort of questions. If you have, please share with me. That is not truly a perfect answers that I'm going to give. Instead, is some opinion as well as the experience where I have, and I'm happy to share with you. Right, so in order to get my materials for today, the first thing that all of you can go through, if possible, you will get into the platform of Google. Okay, I'm a paperless person, so you know that I'm a green person. I'm a paperless person, so all of the materials are already put on my website. And when you go for Google, then after that, you can type my name over there, okay? And once you got my name is BC Chu, then you are able to come into the platform called Academia, okay? So I think some of you already have participated my lecture before. You would know some of the information here. So this is Academia, which I have placed my papers as well as some of the work which I have over for the teaching as well as for the sharing session. So when you come to Academia, I have a few sections over here which you can get through on your laptop. So you might be able to see there are papers like, for example, some of the articles, some of the proceedings. The most important one for today is we are going for the chapters. which this is the chapters that I'm going to share with you about formulating your research idea, clarifying the research topics. Okay, and perhaps there's also some of the teaching materials which could be quite useful to all of you after you have get it through, might be able to help for some of your studies. For example, verbs to be used, how to write a good abstract, as well as general formats, Gantt chart for supervision. Some of it I'm happy because it has some view, but some of it is still utilizing for the teaching purpose. Right. So before I start, I'm glad to have Miss Nabila for helping me, because the first thing that I asked her was who would be my participants. I mean, I would like to know some of you, right? So in order to know some of you so that I can tailor what are the topics and what are the content that I'm going to have. And Miss Nabila, she's very kind. She wrote to me, she said that most of these ITS postgraduate students from the intake of August 2020 and 21. So I assume that all of you are still new, motivated, am I right? And then also very, very happy to come to this very well-known established ITS in Indonesia. And also I know that there are many of you are from masters, and obviously there are 15% of you are from doctorates and the rest are undergraduates. Also, I have my colleagues here, some of my academic respected colleagues over here, as well as some of the students who from other universities. So happy to have you here. As I say, it is not a lecture. Instead, this is a sharing that I can give to all of you. Hope that you will learn happily with me, right? A well-spent 1 to 2 hours. Right, and then the second question I asked Nabila, I say, Nabila, do you have any kind of standards, standards that will guide for masters and PhD students or even undergraduate students in order for us to know, or for me to know, what are the scope that will be set in order for them to know the standard for masters and PhD degree? I mean, after that, I think it was a very last minute questions actually. And I have tried myself to Google a lot, but I could not get a precise information. So maybe in this way, I would like to say, if I have my colleagues, that's still joining me this session, you can let me know the link if possible. I can keep on checking on that. If it's not, then allow me to share some of the information, for example, from Malaysian perspective. Maybe it could be useful or maybe it is not, but at least it gives some flavor, what are the master's and doctorate degree that will look like in terms of the PhD and master dissertation. Okay, now these are the very fundamental requirements that we have to make ourselves precisely clear so that we're able to understand what are the requirements. And this requirement, most of the time, will become institutional requirement. Institution requirement means that what are the requirements from ITS, for example, or what are the requirements from U10, the place that I'm working right now. So I would like to say that these are the guidelines that all of us would go through, and in order to set how far and how deep, the master dissertation, as well as the doctorate thesis, how wide the scope is in order to comprehend before we embark on the wagon, right? So allow me to share a little bit, then maybe it gives you some information, and then it can also help to inspire. Maybe after this, you can also help yourself to find those requirements from Indonesian parts. Then after that, it can help in terms of the understanding. Well, these documents is, okay, before this, I will stop my video because I would love to provide a smoother in terms of data transmission so that all of you who are utilizing your internet, you will feel easier without any disruption. Right, so this is the standards that we call as master's and doctoral degree. So the first edition 2013 and the second edition just this year. So that is the latest copy that we are able to obtain. And we also have what we call as a Malaysian qualification agencies that overlook and also monitoring as well as control in terms of the standard that all of the higher learning institution offer masters and doctorate to the students who come and study in Malaysia. I believe Indonesia has that. It's just because of my commitment, and also maybe I'm not very well versed, that's why I hardly to find. But I would like to share with you some of the flavor so that you are able to understand it. Okay. Now, when you scroll down, then you're able to see this is a very big document, and this document is required for all the students to comprehend what are the learning outcomes, okay, what are the expectations that they need to have for masters and the PhD students. Okay, I would assume, I mean, maybe some of you are doing master by course or master by mixed mode, right? Or fully master by research, might be. So when you have these, your institution might already have designed a proposal, and then after that, you need to go through your dissertation at the end of the program. So in such a case, you also need to expose yourself by doing what we call as a research component into your program. Okay, so let's look at the master degree first. Okay, I think this one is just some sharing, not totally 100% true, but something that from Malaysia that I can share in order to kickstart my talk. Master degree by research, level 7 under the MQF framework. So at the end of the program, the graduate must be able to, these are the outcomes, demonstrate in-depth frontier knowledge and understanding in the relevant fields of practice. Secondly, critically and creatively apply knowledge in one or more fields to resolve complex disciplinary and practical problems. Okay, and then after that, you also need to know that it has to conduct rigorous and independent research or investigation with minimal supervision. Remember, don't always think that you want to be spoon-fed by your supervisor. Okay, you have to know that that's already there. I mean, in Malaysia context. Okay, and then after that, perform research adhering to legal, ethical, professional, and sustainable practices. Demonstrate intellectual leadership quality and management skills. Communicate effectively in the field and interact with specialists and also the general audience. So you're not only talking to your peers, your supervisors, or those in the academia, you also need to be able to reach the applications as well as the understanding to the general audience out there. Select and use suitable digital and analytical tools technique to research problem and demonstrate commitment to long life learning and personal development. So these are the guides that we have in Malaysia in order for us to know what are the scope of us as a supervisor in order to help by designing the degree, master degree by research, and then suitably for the master students. Okay, so I think over here there are some of the keywords that you have already encountered. For example, demonstrate in-depth frontier knowledge. Then it means that you take note, might be helpful. Then your knowledge should be frontier, should be in-depth. It really means that you should do something which is front, you know, not something too backwards. You have to look at something far more current, okay, something that happens now, instead of you're doing something which might be 10 or 20 years ago. Next, you have to be critical, you have to be creative, right, to apply knowledge, because like it or not, even in soft engineering like production, manufacturing, industrialization, like myself, I'm come from the background of technology management. We also know that all the disciplines are interconnected. So that's the reason why right now we have what we call as transdisciplinary research. Okay, And obviously, we have to solve complex or practical problems. It has to be provide practical problems. So I think, so all the students over here, I think if you back to your different discipline, then you can start to think how my research is going to be helpful, solving the practical problem. The practical problem means that the problem that really exists, the real problem, it's nothing to do with the problems that you always think in your own mind. It has to be really practical, implementable. Okay. Then after that, you have to know that you have to be independent. You have to comply with the legal aspect. Remember, the research should not be something that violate the rules and regulations. Has to be ethical, has to be professional, okay? And obviously, you have to show intellectual leadership qualities because you are the one, even though you are running your projects by your own self, but you need to lead the project. You need to have the ability of manage it, manage the resources. I always tell my students, there are 4 M's for you to manage with your one method. I repeat, there are 4 M's for you to manage with your M method. So what are the 4 M's? The human resource, the materials, the machineries, and obviously the money, right? And the last one is the time. So in such a case, when you know that there are always 4 M's for you to manage, as well as the T, that's a time for you to manage, then you have to apply how the method for you to manage. That's what we call as 4M, okay? 1T, and after that, all of these will utilize 1M to manage. So I make a repeat for first M is manpower, okay? You need to work with the lab assistants, for example. If you need to go for the data collection, you need to know the people who supports you, the managers, the supervisors. Okay, even your supervisors also can be your manpower. Okay, and then after that, you have materials. Okay, your books, your journals, those that you can access, right? So the materials, the informations, the softwares, everything should be the materials that you need to know how to manage. Machinery are quite simple. Your PC, your laptop, your printers, your transport, your car, your bike, for you to move from one place to another in order to collect the data, to do observation, the machineries that happens in the factory or production line for you to see. And finally, money. Some of you might be sponsored, some of you might not, right? Some of you might no problem with the financial. Some of you might be working as well as studying at the same time. The financial can be a challenge for you. So all of these could become one of the big factors in order to make sure that your topic as well as your idea could be materialized within the context of your resources. And then after that, you must have properly know that your time, right? How long is your master's program? How long is going to be your PhD program? It's not going to be 10 years, am I right? So every one of us are bound with the time frame. In such a case, you have to also know how to manage your time. And obviously, it's all utilize what we call as a method in order to manage yourself well for the entire process. Now, some of you might thinking in this way, okay, sir, why do you want to share with us with these resources? Well, if you're able to manage it, that it becomes some of the positive resources for you, or else it can be something become a constraint for you. Okay, so for example, as I say, the manpower. Okay, so you need to talk to the factory people, for example, the managers, engineers, okay, the person who are working in the industry. So you tell me, do you know them at the first stage? If you found out that you do not have any good rapport, you hardly to have any network, and you're thinking that you want to study this company, then please think again. Okay, some of us, when we start our research, we have a very beautiful ideas, the ideas which are fantastically crafted. But remember, resources sometimes can be a constraint for all of us. Materials, some of us, we say, okay, I want to have that journals, I want to have that books, I want to have this software, I want to have this and that. Fine. But do you able to access the best, or do you able to access it thoroughly? Sometimes some of the journal might not be subscribed, some of the books might not be available. So think about that. Machineries, some of you might thinking, oh, because I would like to do programming, that's why I need to have a fantastic PC. I might need to have a well-done laptops and whatsoever. But by the end of the day, do you think that you're capable to get that? That is a resources, one of the resources. That also could be one of the constraints for you. Money, how much money that you can have in order to sustain and then support your living, support your study, paying yourself with the fees, as well as, for your living expenses. All of these are monies. So are you able to do that? Like our case in Malaysia, some of us, our students, they always think big, because Malacca is located in the peninsula. I'm not sure whether you know peninsula or where Malacca is located. So sometimes those students, they always think about going back home, So they would say that, sir, I would like to always get back home so that I can collect my data. So I say, okay, fine, no problem. But how frequent that you really can fly? You see, so when we are located ourselves in the peninsula, and the students would say that, oh, I'd like to go back to Sabah or Sarawak, and then I need to attend an interview here. I need to study the company, the oil and gas over here. Okay, I said, fine, but how frequent can you go back by flight? This involves a lot of monies in order for you to accommodate the transportation. So always think about it. How are you going to make sure that money is not going to be a big challenge for all of you? International students like us, most of us, we have the financial trouble. I mean, like myself, many of the people, they say, oh, you are very fortunate. You're able to go out from the country. You're able to study. Yes, you see that I'm successful, but you never know that that is a lot of challenge in terms of money to me. I need to work when I do my studies, so admittably, I would say money is one of the big challenge for all of us. Next, time, like it or not, time is the biggest enemy. I always tell my supervisee, I have my nearly 10 PhD students of mine after I've graduated 4. So I always tell them with my experience, I say time is your biggest enemy, because it slips through your finger, not even without your notice. So we're just sitting there, sometimes half day pass, not even achieve anything. That's the reason why I hope, even though you're not my supervisee, some of the information over here, for example, the Gantt chart, okay? So you get back to BCQ, Academia EDU, the Gantt chart could be helpful for you to plan. What do you really want to do with the time that allocated? Okay, I mean, obviously, where the people plan for it, at least you are guided by the process. What makes all of us afraid is you never plan for it and you thought that you can manage it very well, but by the end of the day, you feel more and more stressful. So most of the students, I would say, my experience, most of the students, they have this as their problem. And the second one would be money. Okay. And the other parts that you need to master yourself is how are you going to manage yourself in terms of the time, the money, the machinery, the materials, the manpower, so that it become a positive resources for you instead to become a constraint. Okay. So as I say, you always can get back here. It's under the teaching materials. I mean, this is handy for some of you. If you think it's useful, please use it. So I also have one we call as the Gantt chart for supervision. You can always download it, then you can have a look whether this is going to be helpful for your planning. Okay, at least we do our planning. Okay, so this one is even from chapter 1 until the conclusion. You know, some of it, like PhD, they need to sit for the viva, then after that minor or major corrections, then after that they graduate from there. So when you look at it, 4 years become 48 months, you know, 2 years, 24 months. It is not really that long. Basically, it's not really that long. Okay, now next, I would like to share about the PhD. Okay, what makes the PhD different? So I welcome any question. If you have, you can type on the chat box. Later on, you know, my friends will help me, my colleagues will help me. If you have any, you can type anytime so that I can also read later. So the next one would be the PhD, okay, from the Malaysian quality agencies. Now, as I say, it is not perfectly true, but at least something that we can understand and guide us in terms of our research idea. So you see, for doctorate by research, level 8 under MQF, at the end of the program, the graduate should be able to see critical and in-depth understanding of frontier knowledge. Remember, frontier knowledge. So it means that's also quite similar with the masters, where you have to have a frontier knowledge. Okay. Then after that, you have to have, okay, by generating substantial and original contribution. That is the one that guiding in Malaysia. So you need to check on ITS or in Indonesia, what are the scope and also the criteria. Okay, so that's why for generating substantial and original contribution, the supervisors will always talk to the students saying that you have to give us something what we call as a novelty. Okay, novelty, something that new, something that innovative, okay, something that gives some positive impact, okay. So all of these become the keywords for you to understand. Novelty, okay? Not doing something that has been done before, never reinvent the wheel. That is the one that we call as the novelty. Next, we have to synthesize existing and new knowledge in one or more discipline or the area, okay? To develop new concept, interpretation, or application. So that is the contributions from the PhD. You need to synthesize, means that you need to make sure that existing and new knowledge are able to be merged, I put in this way, okay, synthesize. Okay, then after that, you can try to bridge the disciplines from one to another. Okay, and for the new concept of interpretation or application. You have to conduct rigorous and independent research or investigation with minimal supervision. This is also quite similar with a master's. So as an adult learners, master's or PhD, or even you are undergraduates, remember, because you are already near to your final year, always expect there would be a minimal supervision. You know, it would not be like you're attending the classes, and the lectures or the supervisors are telling you from A to Z. You need to proactively ask questions, never been spoon-fed, okay? This have to be remembered. Minimal supervision. It means that you have to make sure that you are not going to be spoon-fed, okay? Some of the students, they are so afraid they have to be clinching with their supervisors in order to make sure that they learn everything. It would not be in such a way anymore. Okay, that is the differences. Then after that, you have to go for intellectual leadership quality and management skills. This is quite similar with the masters. Perform research adhered to legal, ethical, professionals, and sustainable practices, quite similar with the masters as well. communicate conjointly in the field and interact with specialists as well as general audience. Okay, so you're able to talk to the people, your peers, your supervisors, lecturers in academia, as well as public audience. Select suitable digital and analytical techniques to research problem. Right now, all of us are using Microsoft Word, Open Office, all these digital platforms, right? Softwares or any kind of softwares in order for the analysis. So you have to master it. Then commit to long life learning and personal development. So what you can see here, the difference between the master's and the PhD, okay, is what you can see is on the top two over here. Okay, so for PhD, you have to be critical, in-depth, frontier knowledge, generating substantial original contribution to a field, synthesize existing and new knowledge in one or more discipline areas to develop new concept, interpretation, or application. Okay, so that is the Malaysian criteria for us to guide and supervise masters and also PhD students. So for you, I would like to say, please, after this session, it is good that you can find also similar criteria which apply by your institution as well as the opinion from your supervisor. Okay, right. I would like to share a little bit about my Facebook. Maybe it's nice that I can show you my Facebook. What are the things that I put to myself? That's why I say it is not about PowerPoints and clicking, okay? And this is the part that I'm doing webinar as a way that I would like to share, sharing instead of just doing webinar and then telling, sharing and telling are totally different things, yeah? So what I have over here is I always love to have, something that I would like to share with my students. Now, I would quite happy if all of you capable to do some print screen, if you like, because all of these could help us to formulate a good research idea later on. Okay, so most of us, we're being asked about thinking and connecting. You see, for PhD, just now it mentions that it has to be bridging in terms of two disciplines, the existing and the new one. So you imagine this would be the existing, this one would be the new one. You are actually building the bridge in order to merge these both together. So thinking and connecting skill, this is the most valuable skill that you have to acquire during your PhD study time. Okay, so the reason we want to is because it's acquired conceptualization skills, which comprise of these two fundamental, which is thinking and connecting. Okay, so hopefully this one will be helpful for the PhD students out there. Right, for the next one, how to think and connect. Now, this would be something that we can also read a bit. Okay, I welcome you to have a print screen for this one. And I think some of the keywords that might be all of you have been listened repetitively by your supervisors, but you might have trouble in order to know what does it mean, correct? So for example, they say critical, you have to be critical. Okay, you have to be critical, right, fine. So what does it mean by critical? It means that you read with the skills to criticize, with deliberate attempt to find or make to find faults. Okay, now that is academic, yeah, it's nothing to do with our life. Don't learn this critically and then start to find fault with your members or family or even to your friend. No, it's not like that. What critical means over here is we have to criticize. We do not just accept the theory by itself, so that we are able to generate new idea from there. Okay, then after that we have to connect, because you have to be logical, right? Everything has to be logical. The gravity laws, everything has to buy on gravity law. If you want to have something which is anti-gravity, you have to do something about it in order to put the resources or whatever energy or whatever forces in order to cancel it off. So that's the reason why we have to be logical to make sure connections that can be conceptualized. Now, this is important because when you want to connect, I have to say, when you want to connect, you have to make sure that it is logical and it is able to be conceptualized. Some of the students, I'm not saying you, some of the students, they would have the trouble in terms of logical thinking as well as conceptualization. Now, what does it mean by logical? It has to be sense-making. It has to be scientifically proven. It has to be factual-based. So some of them, they say, okay, sir, I want to study something to do with reduce accidents. I say, okay, fine, very good topics. And I would expect that reduce accidents on the road. It has to do something to be the road conditions, the traffic light systems has to be awesome, okay? As well as I would say the educations for the drivers, okay? Even the machines that being used, not too old cars, okay? Not too old bikes, if you have those bike or those car which is more than 50 years old, never serviced, imagine that they're running on the road, they're actually putting what do you call threat and also harmful to all those users as well as the driver himself. Okay, so logically, when we want to reduce accidents, there's a lot of perspective that we can look into, and after that, we propose some of what you call as innovative suggestions. Okay, but I've overcome. I've came across. I don't overcome. Overcome will be later. I've came across with one of the title or the idea. They say I want to reduce the accidents, okay, on the road by making sure the color of the flowers that planting besides the road. Okay. Then after that, I would say, oh, I'm not sure whether this is logic or not logic. Okay, so some of them they say, maybe I'll share with you some of the view over here, then you can understand. So there are always flowers, okay, some of the cities, right, planted next to the road. Okay, and these students, she proposed to me, and as she said, I would like to study this is because I want to make sure that the reduction of this accident because of the colors of the flowers, if you put flowers with the different colors, it will affect the accident rates. Then I keep asking myself, am I missing something, or he or she don't understand, or myself who I don't understand? I think some of you are smiling behind. Yeah, how could or what on earth the color of the flowers can reduce or can increase accidents rate? If you are talking to me the size of the trees, yeah, you say the trees are too huge, then they block anything, that makes sense. But if you are putting pink flower, yellow flowers, or any kinds of flower in order to reduce the accidents rate, then I'm not sure whether it is logic. That is the fundamental of what we call as the logic. Okay, do you get what I mean right now? So logic is the first thing that we have to go through in order to make sure that our research starts to make sense. Okay, making sense. Then after that, another one is conceptualize. How are we going to put everything into a concept? Okay, so conceptualize, it means that how are you going to put everything into a concept? Okay, and this concept must be the one that able to present the completeness, or what we call as the overall completeness, as well as holistic, if possible, of the concept. Okay, another mistake, for example, that I can give, okay, some of the wrong concept. Okay, some of the wrong concept. So, for example, Some of the students, they say, I would like to study a research, about entrepreneurs, okay? And these entrepreneurs are those entrepreneurs who are doing fashion, okay? Right? Does it ring the bells? I mean, some of you might thinking about that as well. And these fashions entrepreneurs are linking with their sales, okay? So I would like to know how they do, and then these sales, we're utilizing e-marketing. I'm using general topics, because I think most of you know what am I giving the example is, marketing. I believe all of you as a consumer, marketings, consumer behaviors, all of these will quite stick to your own self. So after that, when they say, okay, my concept is I want to look at these and how this entrepreneur utilizing e-marketing for sales. And I say, okay, fine, not bad. Okay, I say, so what are the things that you want to promote? Oh, I want to promote my product, and my product is the fashion. Okay, pakaian, the blouse, the trousers, the tudungs, and then the costumes or whatsoever. Okay, then after that, I ask him, okay, then what do you think about this e-marketing? Is it the product need to be innovative? I ask the question. Is it the product need to be innovative for you to go for this fashion? Then she said to me, no, not innovative. Okay, then I say, okay, if that's not innovative, it's okay, because sometimes if you are utilizing all those traditional fashions, pakaian traditionals, you do not need to overly innovate it, or else people would hardly to accept it. Am I right? Okay, so I say, okay, that's fine. Then he said, no, sir, I'm not doing traditional fashion. Okay, I'm doing a fashion, and then I think I want to do the fashion for youngster, untuk muda-mudi, those who are in the age of 12 until 25, those youngsters, so they will love my fashion. I say, if innovation is not embedded into your fashion, how are you going to make sure the youngsters going to like it? Do you see my point right now? So if without innovation, how do you make sure that the youngsters, orang-orang muda, would love the fashion? You never imagine that the youngsters will love a lot of innovative fashion, correct or not? So in such a case, it means that the concept is not complete. The concept itself is not complete. So you can see those they are wearing, okay? I mean, the neutral one will be like this, okay? And after that, those that go for higher, they can have different colors. And then some of them, they even have different types of fashion that you can see on the photos over here. Am I right? Some of them, they can even think about fashions could be the identity. So if the study not putting innovation into the fashion, how are we going to make sure the fashion is going to be liked by the youngsters? You tell me. So the conceptual that they provide is not complete because innovation has not been placed. So that is what we call as the conceptualized. It has to be complete. It has to be overall. It has to be holistic if possible. Trying to represent in a complete picture. Okay, in a complete picture. So the next one I would like to say is about the Facebook pack. Okay, so we need to connect because it has to be a logical connection that can be conceptualized. Now, how do we get a logical connection? It's intuition, your experience, your observation, the knowledge that you have known and you discovered. So these will be the source of logical connection. And put all this together, you need to reflect. Maksudnya, you have to think again and again and again and think very hard. Okay, so do you get my ideas right now? How are you going to have this connected? So how to read critically, just now as I say. So about the critical, it means that try to find anything that you can able to argue. It's not about go for family members or friends, but go for academic. So you challenge all assumption. You know, people last time have assumptions saying that the world is flat, correct? Then after that, it has been challenged. Then we know that the world or the globe is actually round, right? And then people also say that, oh, do you know that during that time, people always say that we are actually the only one that exists, you know, the only one that exists in this world. But after they study more and more, they found more and more planets. So challenge all the assumptions that we made in order to dig down further and understand more. Because the knowledge has piled up, little regards to compatibility. Sometimes you found out that some of the papers, some of the journals that you read, they are not really gives you some age of thinking. Some of them, they are merely for you to know. So sometimes a lot of assumption has been made. Okay, so you have to know that the rules is you have to understand sometimes it also accumulate by accidents. Okay, so you have to look for new idea. Keep an open mind. Remember, be prepared. Your idea might be wrong or might be challenged. That's why always keep an open heart in your life, academic, and always willing to accept criticism. If you have somebody who are willing to share with you, you are very fortunate if you have one. Okay, so I always post these things to my students so that my students are able to learn, you know, what are the things that they can get from me. So that right now, I hope that some of you have known about the flavor, about the requirement, about the institutional criteria in order to differentiate between masters and PhD. Okay, so far so good. So I think I have completed the first round so that all of you start to remember and also to comprehend that it is a requirement from institution that will surely bound on your research idea. You know, it cannot be something just what we call as you just click it, you just use it, but you never know that it is going to influence you at the end of the day. So I hope that after we have got for the first session, okay, our first session, I've shown you, okay, something to do with the Malaysian qualification agencies for the masters and also the PhD. I hope you also can go and find for the Indonesian as well as ITS institutional requirement. Okay, then these will spell out some of the criteria which will shape your research idea. Okay, makes sense. Next, I think you knew and you learned some words: connect, logic, okay, novelty, critical, okay, conceptualize. Okay, it has to be Z, conceptualize. So these are the words that has to be in your mind, and obviously reflect means that keep on thinking, okay, think hard, okay, and all of this has to be in your mind in order for you to make a good research idea. Remember, the research idea has to comply, okay, the institutional requirement as well as your degree requirement. And from time to time, this one, what we call, this one will polish. You know, I love to use the word polish. Now, because we cannot start to do everything at a one stage, you know, you need to go gradually, you know, step by step, like you're picking up a stone, right? And then you make it, polish it, then it becomes finer and finer, better and better. So you keep polishing your research idea, okay? An open mind, okay? Remember, don't afraid to be criticized, okay? Because people are talking about the idea, it's not about person, right? If you submit your journals one day, you also will get the peer review. People also will criticize your work, and don't feel upset about it. You know, it's nothing to do with your person. You know, it's nothing to do about your personality. Instead, it is your academic idea, okay, that has to be gone through the criticism in order to make sure that it is well done and well formulated, okay? CI Okay.
I'm very sorry, Professor Chu.
Yes.
I think we cannot see your screen right now.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Could you
Sorry.
please share your screen again?
Yes, sure. I'm sorry. I think, yeah, I mean, it switched off. Am I right?
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry for that. I have speaking to myself for quite some time. So where am I missing just now? Am I missing somewhere here? Have I shared something here? Here? Yes?
After how to read critically.
Okay. After the critical one, the Facebook, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, so might be I repeat a little bit over here. So as I say, remember about how do you connect it, right? How do you make sense, conceptualize? And then after that, also I mentioned about, remember the first session, we gone through, the qualifications, the institutional requirement. Please find it out, I think your education, your Ministry of Higher Education must have it, or at least your institution must have it, so that your idea can comply with that. So I show you the Malaysian parts already, and obviously we also learn some of the keywords we call connect, logic, novelty, critical, conceptualize, reflect, think hard, and a good research idea can be coming true, because we want to polish the research idea, remain yourself open mind, allow for criticism, and in order to build a good academic idea. Okay, so I hope that I have already gone through the first session. So if you have any question, please post here. Then after that, when during the Q&A session, I will able to come back to you. Okay, right? So let's move on to the second session. Okay, another half an hour. Are you okay with me? If you're okay with me, you can give me a smile or a like, or you're thinking you are tired or anything. If okay, you give me a smile or light or something, so that I can know that, okay, everybody are still able to get something from me. Right? So I will go for the next one, which is all about the book chapters. Okay? Right. Okay. So I hope that all of you are okay, right? So anyone, are you okay? Happy, still okay? Follow up? Are you able to, get to my talk just now, or anything? You have any questions later? You can share with me. Yeah. By now, I think we are looking more into the second part. Okay. Right. So formulating and also clarifying the research topic, that is hard to do with your research idea. Okay. Continue, sir. Share previous slides since I cannot see the. Yeah, I have already shared. Sorry for that. Yeah, Dicky, because sometimes when we are talking alone, and then I've forgotten that the screen are not sharing over there. Okay, right. So these are the second part which I'm sharing with you. You do not need to make any notes. You're able to get it from the academia, where you always can come back and then after that have a look. So I contribute to this chapter, and most of the time when I'm teaching research method, I'm able to share to the students so that they can learn how are they going to come up with a better idea. Okay, so generating research idea. Okay, this is the topic that I would say about it today. So firstly, you have to understand there are few techniques, right? I think it should have approximately 7 techniques, which I can go through one by one, and some of it might be helpful for you. And then if you have any question, please ask me later. First, subject to topic analysis. Now, you have to understand first thing first is, along the process that you come for your master's and your PhD, you have to already learn something a lot during your undergraduates. And even undergraduate students out there, if you are coming to the stage that you're doing your research, I assume that you also learn a lot with the subject that you have participated, correct? So in such a case, there must be some subject you really like, some subject you're really good at, then I would say that the research idea should come out from something that you really like, something you're really good at. You know, for example, if you're really good at quality management, so look at quality management. Some of you might look at lean manufacturing. Some of you might looking at design. Some of you might looking at commercialization strategy. You know, all of these are the subjects that you have. And then after that, you go for topic analysis. Now, subject to topic analysis, give a basic undertaking preliminary research for the research idea. How you do it? Very simple. I always love to utilize book as one of my guidance. Okay, so let's say we go for Amazon. And after that, let's look for the books. You know, either we have any books that's going to help us for our formulation. Then we try to look into the books about the book content. Let's look at the topic of Industrial Revolution 4.0 might be, okay? Right? So after that, let's find the book. I mean, if you're able to get the book in the library, you know, you also can always get through the library, right? Let me see if I have any of the book which could be the latest, yeah, because the latest you are able to access the what do you call the book chapters and also the book table of content. Yeah, look inside. So I assume that this would be one of the books. Yeah, it is not totally must follow in this. But from the subject, then we are looking at the content, okay? From subject to topic, these are the topics that we are like to go for. Maybe we want to know, after we know that we are taking a subject of fourth industrial revolution, and obviously these are the topics that we have over here. Do you want to look at automation? Or maybe you want to look at impact for business or impact for individual? Or do you want to look at economy? Okay. Or do you want to look at, for example, career? You know, how Industrial 4.0 is going to replace the manpower. Then after that, you might want to look at employment. Okay. So from here, you choose one as your topic. Okay. That is the fundamental way for you to start. And then you have to really like this topic or your subject. You get what I mean? You have to really like it so that you are able to do the analysis from there. Another one might be lean manufacturing. Let's see. Okay. So because I'm just doing some of this, what do you call, sharing, you know, I think some of you might thinking this will be useful for you. Some of it might not. It's okay, right? So if some of you thinking, okay, I would like to have about the lean manufacturing, you know, I learned this subject. So I like to know what are the topics that I can really like and I can really look at. So you go back to the book of content, right? And after that, you select from there, then you're able to make a better decision for yourself. Okay. So after this, we look at the table content. Okay, so maybe these are the lean manufacturing, and then we look at the table content. So for example, okay, do you want to look at the benefits as your study, your research? Or maybe you're thinking about the lean or the principles or the rules, or maybe you want to study about the Kaizen, okay? Or maybe you're thinking, hey, I would like to look at lean, but this time I want to look at lean leadership. Wow, something new for me. You know, or maybe I would like to look at building the momentum for it, you know, okay. So, and also the resources, how am I going to make sure the resources are leanly being prepared? So as I say, look for something that interests you, and that is what we call as the subject to topic analysis. Okay, so that's so far so good about this. Okay, select one or two topics which are interest that might provide a focus area for the research idea generation. So after you have that, maybe you start to think, I would like to do about lean leadership. And then I would like to study the company, for example, Garuda, for example, how do they do lean leadership for Garuda? Or maybe I want to study about some of the internet providers in Indonesia, IndiHome, for example. Okay, what about their principles and rules for the lean in IndiHome, for example? That are the things that after you have studied, then you keep building up your concept. Okay, right. Next, what you can do is you scan the media. Now, scanning media is one of the ways that we also can get a lot of information out from there, right? So let's say like you read the newspapers, you watch the news, you look at the social media platforms. Some of these media's information might give you some inspiration or some of the highlights. Okay, like for example, if let's say like today, let's say like today, when we are watching the news, we always get ourselves, hey, what is about the COVID's number, for example? Okay, I would like to know about the COVID situations. Might be, I'm looking from Malaysian perspective, for example. Okay, so I found out that these will be the next. You see, the world first aerosolized inhalable COVID vaccine. Wow. Move towards approval, better effect as booster. So it means that in the future, people are not going to have any kind of injection. Instead, you can inhale it. You will hisap. Wow. This is the one that has better effect as booster, better than the, what do you call as the injection? Okay, I think this one is something interesting right now, and then it's just so new on the 22nd of September. And this is the one that going to be a fantastic, innovative idea. Right, I want to study about this. You can also do that. Okay, so in such a case, as I say, scanning the media can be one of the ways in order to make sure that you are able to catch the latest information, latest technology, and then you can put your efforts by doing research around it. So far, so good. Okay, right. The third one, we can use relevance tree. Now, relevance tree is the way that you are branching down. So I just share with you relevance tree. Okay. So before this, when you found out relevance tree, it is actually a mechanism for you to break it down, from the idea. For example, I show over here to you. Okay, so we have the impact of technology innovation on community-based energy market. Okay, so I'm looking at energy market right now. I want to know the impact of technology innovation. Okay, how are we going to make sure the energy market is going to achieve a better performance after we have innovation on that? Then after that, we start to write down, okay, energy, technology innovation, we have what? For example, we have the adoption, we have diffusion model. Are we looking at renewables? Are we looking at photovoltaic? Are we looking at battery? What are the transitions happens? And what are the community base that we can go for? Is it we're going for microgrid? Or maybe we want to go for, this is the one that we call peer-to-peer energy, distribution, production, okay? Or are we going for model-based, like the agent-based model, scenario model, innovation diffusion, theory of planned behavior? This is talking about the market as well as a society. Then after you draw this relevance tree, you can pick which one that you think you want to go for, right? You can choose which one do you think you can go for. Maybe by the end of the day, you are thinking, oh, I want to look at the impact of innovation on community-based energy market, where I would like to only focus on, for example, energy technology innovation in terms of, for example, diffusion of innovation only, for example. Okay, or maybe I would like to take this all together but I'm not taking community, I'm not taking an agent base. It's okay. That's the way that you draw the relevance tree, you identify what are the details that you can go through. Okay, so relevance trees means that breaking down the idea to smaller pieces, then after that you take whatever that you think you are interested at. Okay, next, brainstorming. This is something interesting. Yeah? Brainstorming is the way that you can do on your own, as well as you can call your friends to do. Okay, but remember, when you do brainstorming, you don't criticize first. So the process is you come up with the idea, okay? Then after that, you do not put suggestions, you do not criticize, you do not evaluate. You know, you don't criticize it because sometimes when you found out that the idea being criticized more and more, the idea cannot be erected. The idea suddenly vanished. The idea gone, you know, or people say the idea just died, that you cannot recall the idea. So what you should do is you do not give any criticism on the idea, okay? But you try to give a lot more suggestion as possible, okay? So for example, just now, you know, we see the COVID right now, right? The COVID-19, the news, right? Okay, and after that, we found out that right now people can go for inhale instead of the booster, correct? And this is something very new. Okay, don't criticize first. You know, don't say, oh, this is expensive lah, this is very slow lah. You know, don't criticize. Try to think something around this. You know, for example, I want to look at manufacturing aspect, or do I want to look at marketing aspect, or do I want to look at, for example, quality control aspect, you know? So we're putting it first, we don't criticize. Then after that, you select those that you have reviewed and the most appealing as your research idea. Maybe by the end of the day, you found out that, ooh, I really want to look at the quality aspect of this new technology, you know, instead of looking at other things. So that is the way that you're able to generate your idea. Next, looking at past research project. Now, this is the one that most of the students, if you're able to go to library, usually you're able to access to the thesis. Am I right? Now, the thesis, particularly in the last chapter conclusion, usually they will have what we call recommendation for future studies. You know, I think most of you would remember this, or you, when you write it out, you also being asked to write something about it. Okay, so usually the last chapter, okay, it will be called the chapter for conclusion, and this chapter they would have something to do with recommendation for future study. Okay, so for example, okay, today I studied about, okay, for example, when we look back at the topic about the road accident, right? Reduction, okay, road accidents, reductions, you know, cases, reductions. And then after that, we are saying about, we want to have a better or more stringent evaluating system, okay, for the drivers, so that they are all qualified. Okay, okay, so that is the one that the topic's all about. Okay, this will be something, this as a conclusion. So recommendation for the study, maybe you can say in the future, maybe we can go for minimize the man error by utilizing automation. I think some of you already know, right? Some of you already know that right now we have what we call as the automated car, right? Which is always under the IR 4.0, right? They're utilizing the sensor, right? Automatic car or no person driving car, right? Automatic self-drive car, right? So the people can just relax, you know, no more about doing anything because it's just self-driving. So people do not need to worry about accidents anymore because of the sensor, the advancement of the technology, everything are there. So recommendation for the study, for example. Okay, automation or self-driving vehicles. So when you see this topic, hey, I like it, maybe you can start to do further study about this. So that's what we call as review the past project, looking at particularly the recommendation for future study. You can always get some idea out from there. Okay, so far so good. Next would be the 6th, which we call search the literature. Now, this is the one that for master students will be quite difficult, because in master students design in Malaysia, master students are the one who are consume the knowledge or validate the knowledge. Whereas for PhD will be more suitable because they are looking at the knowledge building or theory contribution. That's why searching the literature can be one of it in order to understand what are the missing things that has not been addressed by the literature. Okay, so they always say that it is possible when one have idea, okay, but you would like to see the journals have any of the state of the knowledge in particular topic areas. Okay, so I would like to say to you, okay, one of the examples I always love to share about literature is when you're doing a topic, but the topic itself has not adequate theory to support you. So I think all of you have studied about customer satisfaction. You yourself also a customer. You yourself also will know whether you're satisfied or not when you enjoy a product or a services. So right now we're talking about customer satisfaction in hospital. Okay. So it means that after somebody that stay at the hospital, then he or she will want to rate whether he or she is satisfied or not. But when you look at the theory, okay, that's where the theory comes in. Okay, when you look at the theory, then you start to realize the customer satisfaction, okay, has a lot of paradigms that they need to look at. Okay, so maybe I'll try to find those that in the bigger words. Customer satisfaction theoretical framework. Okay, so some of you might know that, okay, I would like to know the customer satisfaction, whether they are human service, visual media service, menu service, sitting service, notice service. Then you're looking at customer satisfaction. But look at this carefully. This one could not be utilized for your research in hospital because menu service is not the one that we use in hospital. Am I right? Sitting as well. Visual media, you are not looking at something. You are not going there for you in the hospital, you are taking your medical treatment. So in such a case, you found out that the literature about customer satisfaction has not up to date. Instead, you should do what we call as patient satisfaction. Okay, kepuasan pelanggan menjadi kepuasan pesakit. Then you were able to know that that is where the hospital in terms of the treatment could give to the patient instead to the customers. Does that make sense? Okay, so right now it changed to become patient. And then you found out that previously it has very few in terms of the literature talking about patient satisfaction. Right? And the last one, I think, okay, would be the talking to others. Okay, so that is the last one, that talking to others. So you can talk to supervisors, expert in the field, talk to your friends, in order to get their opinion. Sometimes they might be the person who can always enrich, memperkayakan, enrich your research idea so that your idea can become solid, can become complete, and can become what we call as logic, novel, no, and something extra that I have shared with you just now. So always remember, when you're doing your research, never do your research alone. Talk to your friends, talk to your classmates, talk to your supervisors, share your ideas, asking for feedback, never afraid of being criticized. You know, that is the best way, you know, for you to improve yourself. Remember, polish, you know, you need time to make the topic as well as an idea better and better. Right. After that, then I would like to share with you the last part, which is about refining and evaluating research idea. Okay. So internally, after you have got your research idea generation, you need to refine and also need to evaluate. Ask yourself whether your idea, is it good? Is it bad? Is it complete? Is it missing something? Is it not logic? You know, you have to reflect it before turning into the topic for a research project. Okay, so before this, then you need to ask yourself, is a topic something which is one truly fascinated? Do you really like the topic? Okay, you remember, I mean, I always believe in this way. If you really like something that you do, then you do not have any reasons to dislike it. You know, you like something that you do, you would not have any excuse, you know. So always remember, if you've chosen the topic, you've chosen the idea, make sure that you do something that you really like. Next, does one have or develop within the time frame? Okay, the necessary research skill to undertake the topic. You know, always remember, do you have enough time? If you are thinking about doing it too difficult, remember the resources I mentioned to you just now. Remember, it takes a lot of time. It needs a lot of advanced technology. It needs to have a lot of materials. You know, you need to fly here and there. You need to go to the United States to see Obama. Oh my God. Then think twice whether do you want to still take this research idea. Okay. Then next, ask yourself, is a research topic achievable within available time? Okay. Are you able to complete within 2 years or 1 year or 1.5 years for your master's, or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years for your PhD? Remember, always remember, time is your biggest enemy. Then will the topic still be current when the project is finished? You know, you have to also understand there's no point that you're studying something which is outdated, something which is not contributive. You know, under engineering, under soft engineering, under management, under technical studies, all of this has to be embarked on the latest development. When people are talking about 5G, don't design the topic about 3G. You get what I mean? When people saying that we want to go for 5G, right? 5G is our future. We would like to go for it because everything is already start to be digitalized. Don't ever think I want to go for 1G or 2G or 3G. You know, because like it or not, the nature of a study, engineering, soft engineering, management, or any technology, technical management, manufacturing, industrialization, we have to always keep our pace as close as possible with the industrial development. Okay, right? Next, understand that the topic achievable within the financial resources. Okay, are you going to spend a lot of money to find the patents, to get the data, to buy the copyright? If it's yes, then it's going to give you a lot of time. Is one reasonably thinking be able to gain access to the data? Yes. As I say, get the data itself. Do you have the repo? Do you have the network? Do you know the managers? Do you know the engineers? If you do not know, then you need to spend a lot of time in order to get to know the person. Don't design without knowing who are you going to or where are you going to get the data. You know, some of them, they might thinking of very big topics or very high end. By the end of the day, we ask them, are you able to talk to the person? No. Then how are you going to get your data? Oh, sir, I want to do Indo food. Yes. Are you able to access to the company? No. Then how are you going to do? That is the question. Okay. And on the other hand, for the external evaluation, now this is the one. So right now it complete the stories. What I tell you about the Malaysian one. So I ask you to find the Indonesian criteria. Does the topic or the idea fit the specification and meet the standard by the examining institution? Okay. Is it the topic or the idea contain issues have a clear link to the theory? We are doing on academic research, yeah. We are not doing something like survey, you know, like who likes to eat KFC or who wants to eat McDonald's. We don't do that. Our research is academic link. It has to have a theory with that. So in such a case, you have to understand you must have a theory for that. Does one research objective and research question could be clearly spelled out? You know? Will the proposed research to be able to fresh insight in this topic? You know, something that interesting, look at another angle, you know? If you know, okay, for example, if you know the topic about, okay, I need to give, okay, this topic. If you say that you know that, okay, we need to give training to manpower so that they can have a better performance. Then this is already being known, you know, everybody knows about this. That's why right now you are under the webinar with me. Your institution also give you a training, give you a talk, a knowledge transfer, so that you could have a better performance. Now, if this already been done, for example, in year 1991, then don't ever thinking about that coming into the same conclusion, you know, then you are thinking that, yeah, training is important for the performance, and then you're still talking about it in 2021. Then you found out that you have not given a fresh insight, you know, something new, something that we thirst to know about, something that we really want to know how to make resources, human resources, to have a better performance. You know, if you keep telling me training, 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 well, we know it. It would not be needed any kind of research at the first place. Am I? Right? So next one to be the topics clearly to the organization which be under the research. If you are going for the manufacturing, are you solving the problem? Are you helping them? Most of the organization will be happy if you're able to be contributive. So sometimes I also share with my students, you know, you have to be contributive, contribute to the organization so that the organization also can learn from you, you know. So if let's say like you want to go to the factory, you want to go to the company, okay, so you look at their problem, okay, this can be your research idea, and after that you do your research, come up with the solution and share with them. Okay, that is the way that you contribute to them, you know, or else people would think that, okay, you come to my company, have a look, and then after that you spend time, you waste my time, you're not even helping me. So sometimes remember, contribute back to the organization is one of the way that you're able to sustain your research project. The last one would be, does the topic match with your career goals? Remember, after you have graduated from your master's and from your PhD, what are the career that you really like to embark on? Do you want to be an academia? Do you want to get into the factory? Do you want to be industrial practitioners, consultants, policymakers? There's so many jobs out there that need your expertise, you know? So if let's say like you're doing quality management, then at the end of the day, you're not even doing it, you know, you're not utilizing it. So you have not matched your career goal, right? So I hope that with that, then you start to understand how are you going to formulate a good research idea that fits both internal and also external evaluation. Okay, so to conclude what we have done so far, first things that I have mentioned that we, at the first session, okay, I mentioned to you that, remember, along the process, there's always 4M1T, which is resources or constraint. It is something that you know is a flip, another side of the coin. If you never manage it properly, it will be the challenge for you. So remember how you manage your manpower, how do you utilize your materials, how are you going to have the adequate machineries. Money is our concern, yes, and after that, time is your biggest enemy. Remember, 2 years, 1 year, 3 years is not short at all. Remember that. And utilize a proper method in order to manage. Then hopefully with that, then you're able to come up with a good research idea. And there's some keywords, as I mentioned: novelty, something new, something innovative, something that have positive impact. And remember that expect yourself never going to be spoon-fed anymore. Okay? And then after that, have to connect, make a logical sense, conceptualize. How are you going to have a logical thinking? As I mentioned that, if you are studying the color of the flower, that you can reduce road accidents. I would say I don't think so. Okay? Or sometimes you might thinking that, okay, I want to conceptualize something, but I found out that innovation is not important for my fashion, and my fashion is for youngsters. Do you see the missing link over there? If you say that innovation is not important for the fashion, and then the fashion is actually worn by all those youngsters, I think there's some missing links over there. The concept is not complete. Okay? And then obviously also need to know that from the first session, I've shared with you about the MQA, the Malaysian Qualification Agency, that spells out the master's and PhD requirement. And I urge you to find yours, okay, after the talk, so that you can able to comply with the institutional requirement. And those keywords: connect, logic, novelty, critical, conceptualize, reflect, think hard, would start to build a good research idea. And you need to polish the idea from time to time, be open-minded, accept criticism from your friends, and obviously that it's merely for academic ideas. That's nothing to do with your personality. The second session, we learn about the 7 strategy in order to find our research idea. Remember? So we also have, I also mentioned to you, can always come back here. We can go for subject to topic, scanning the media. Right now, today we learn, hey, COVID medicine in the future does not need to be injected. Instead, it can be inhaled, you see? And then use relevance tree, you're breaking it down, select those parts that you love. Brainstorming, do not criticize. List out as much as possible the idea, and after select the one that you love most. Looking at the past project, particularly the parts that we call recommendation for future studies. Scanning the literature, PhD students, if you found that we call literature gap or we call theoretical gap. And finally, talking to your supervisors, your peers, your friends, in order to get their feedback, to comments on your research idea. And the last one, we refine our research idea via internal and also external evaluation. Okay, so with that, then I hope that all of you have already gone through the process of these. Then hopefully this is the ones that are going to help you to strengthen your research idea generation. With that, I'll pass back to the moderator. And if you have any question, please do ask. Thank you for spending time with me. I'm waiting for the questions from you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Chu, for the very insightful presentation. Me, myself, indeed learned a lot from your sharing regarding how to formulate and clarify the research topic. So everyone, please give warm applause for Professor Chu for the amazing presentation.
Thank you very much. I hope that this is not something weird, yeah, Dr. Maratus?
Of course not.
People doing a lot of PowerPoint clicking, am I right?
Yes. That's also an insight for me as well for maybe teaching my class in the future, Professor.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so now participants, now we arrive at the question and answer session. I welcome participants to directly ask questions to Professor Chu by raising your hand using the Zoom feature. So please, if you have any question, don't hesitate to raise your hand.
Yes, please.
Anyone?
Don't feel shy, yeah? I'm also an adjunct professor for your university. So you all are close to my heart, okay? So
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nobody, I guess, but in here, actually, Professor Chu, we receive some questions through the Google form questionnaire that we disseminated before to the participants. And now I will start with the question from Muhammad Isal Febriansyah. Ishal, are you there? Do you want to ask directly to Professor Chu, or should I read your question? Okay, then in here, the question is, as a master's student, how can we observe the phenomena of our thesis topic if I'm not working right now? Do you have any idea or suggestion about brainstorming a possible topic for thesis? Thank you very much.
Right, thank you for that question. I think I understand because right now under pandemic, we're hardly to go outside as well, right? So what I would like to say is don't worry about saying that you have to get the latest, you know, it does not really need to be the latest. I think you all come with the experience, okay? I think pre-COVID time in 2019 or 18, you might have visited something, you might observe something. If you found out that the scenario or the phenomena still remain the same, no problem, you can carry on. Or even though you found out that the scenario that time, and then now you know after the COVID or under the pandemic, some changes might take place, it also can be a topic for you to study. So don't ignore about the observation and don't worry about that. There's always love to have all these changes, and then you can always think, how am I going to formulate it to become a better topic for yourself? Yeah, hope that I can answer yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Chu. In the chat box, we can see that actually Isal is here with us, but he cannot open the camera because of the network trouble.
It's okay, no problem, Isal. It's okay.
Okay, so the next question is from Risa Peri Prihantoro. Risa, are you there? Okay, let me read the question for you. How to be a good researcher?
How to be a good researcher? Well, if let's say like, if let's say like you're talking about the topic for today, the research idea, then you found out that everything starts from the idea, you know? Even I think if you read, you're able to find some books that are talking about idea economy. I think I can recommend to you idea economy. So it means that idea itself is valuable, you know? You have to have a very good idea in order to make sure, you know, these would be the one who are carrying on after you have done your studies. So I would say that, how do you be a good researcher? I mean, obviously it needs a lot of activities, you know, how you manage, how do you write, and etc., etc. But if let's say like under today's topic, I would say that think about something, idea that fascinates you, that you feel excited, that you can talk to everybody. You know, when you have a topic you are so passionate about, they want to tell your friends, hey, you know or not, I'm doing my research right now under, you know, Dr. Maratus, and then she taught me how to do this and that. That is the way that will start to give you some happiness and also confidence. Yeah. So get yourself an exciting topics, a brilliant idea, do not feel worried, or anything that will stop you from become the best or the complete of it. I would say that keep asking, keep finding. It will give you a very good foundation for you to start your research.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Chu. Basically, I can relate a lot with your statement because even though the research or the research topic itself is very difficult, but if I'm enjoying the process, I think I can still complete the expected result from the supervisor, because that's also part of my experiences during my PhD.
Yes, you have to like what you are doing, or else you'll find out that you're being forced to do something that you don't like. It's never going to be easy.
Exactly. Yes, that's correct. Okay. Let's move to the third question. In here, I get a question from Priyo Adi Ramadhani. He asked, what to do if the idea that appears is difficult to implement? So actually, he already gets the idea, but it turns out it's so difficult to implement the idea into the research completion process.
Yes, so that's why you remember the first lecture I mentioned to you about the 4 M's and 1 T, am I right? So if let's say like you found out that the idea could not give you a good outcome, and you found out that those resources that you think should be supportive suddenly become a constraint for you, right? Then this is a no-go for you. I have to say that you still can modify a little bit, but remember the parts that give you the biggest challenge. If you think that it is overly heavy for you to complete, then to me, might need to consider to talk to your supervisor, reformulate, or by the end of the day, it's totally too struggling, it's a no-go for you. Yeah.
I see. Thank you, Professor Chu. And the last question that I received in here from Muhammad Robith, it is about the journal qualification, but in terms of the literature review, he asked, do you think searching research idea from less popular papers or journal papers, such as Q3 or Q4 journals, is a bad idea? Because sometimes researchers tend to look at the very prestigious journal or publication names to refer to start the research, right?
Yes, I would say that, now look at this way, journals, as long as it is not from predatory journals. I'm not sure whether you guys have heard that terms before. Predatory journals means that those journals which are no quality, even they rank themselves in whatsoever quartiles that they rank. So predatory are those journals which does not have a good quality. I would say that if let's say like you fall into these categories of journals, the idea would be very difficult to be further developed, because the process of getting this paper published also questionable. But if let's say like you go for good publishers, those very good publishers, I think you heard before IEEE or maybe Elsevier, you go for Amorous, you go for Taylor Francis, all these good publishers, even they are Q3, Q4, it doesn't really matter. The most important thing is you really learn something from the journals, It does not need to be saying always go for Q1, Q2. As long as you found out that, hey, I learned something from it, I really want to do something about it, so why not? Avoid predatory journals. Guys, that is the key message that I would like to tell to all of you.
Okay, thank you very much for the advice, Professor Chu. And finally, now we receive the direct question by from a participant who already raised his hand. In here we have Muhammad Dafa.
Thank you, Miss Maratus Solihah.
Yes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Q. I would like to ask something about research. So I have several topics in my interest, all from the same field, but I'm having a hard time selecting which one I would be more focused for my thesis. I'm from the master degree, so I'm having a hard time selecting from a selection of potential topics, which one should be the best for my thesis. And then, in addition, I also sometimes have this tendency to, oh, this one topic seems to look interesting, and then there's another topic that also look interesting, and suddenly I'm kind of at a loss which one should I be focused on. How to avoid such situation from occurring, because that's kind of dangerous when
Yeah,
I'm
understood.
supposed to be focused on that one thesis and suddenly I have like 3 theses or something, because yeah.
I mean, I make a joke on you. Hopefully, it doesn't happen on the girlfriend of yours. One is beautiful, another one is beautiful. Yeah, it's just a joke for you. So I would like to say, if let's say like under these circumstances, you need to always get back to my 4M1T process. Need to look at which one could become the resources for you. Remember, it is interesting, but when you want to execute it, it might become a difficulty for you. So if you look at that, is it the manpower supportive? Is it material, machine, money, time? If let's say any of these, after you analyze, you found out that one topic or one research idea tick all the boxes, whereas another one give you a big trouble in terms of manpower, for example, then you know that that one should not be your selection, right? Because by the end of the day, ideas still need to be conceptualized, need to be operationalized. Means that you really need to do the research. You are not just talking that idea with your supervisor. You need to produce the thesis. So how you do it for M1T for you to think about. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Q.
Thank you, Professor Chu, and also thank you, Dava, for the question. Is there anyone who wants to ask a question?
Yes,
Somebody?
anyone?
Yes, in here we have Dicky.
Yes, Dicky.
Yes. Good evening. Assalamualaikum.
Good evening.
Prof.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for your explanation. Nice topic. I'm a worker. I'd like to ask you, what do you prefer if we are looking for topic for my master? Better instead of discussion with our professor, what do you think if we are talking also to our leader?
Leader means what, Dicky?
I mean, our supervisor, something like that.
Oh, you mean your supervisor in your working place, is it?
Correct. Prof.
Okay.
What do you think?
You should ask yourself which one do you like first. Obviously, I mean, the background of my training is because when we study that time, the supervisors always let us to have the decision to make, right? So they always encourage us. For example, that time when I was like you also, they always ask us, what do you want to do? So Dicky, I would say that instead of you are listening to professors or your leaders, why don't you ask yourself which one you really like? Then after that, propose to your leaders or propose to your supervisors. So you can have both, the best of the both, It doesn't really matter. Your professors or your leaders, particularly those your professors, would love to hear what you really like, actually. Because like Dr. Maratus just said, you cannot force yourself to do something that's too difficult for you. By the end, you are the one who's going to do the research, not your supervisor, not your leaders, So you have to like it first. Then only you can able to do that. I hope that this will be helpful for you, in order to determine which one is the one that you like the most.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chu, and also Dicky for the question. Actually, I believe that there might be a lot of other participants want to ask directly to you, Professor. But since we have the time limitations. So I guess we have to
Okay.
end the discussion
Is
at this moment. Sorry for everyone.
No problem.
Okay.
So I would like to say thank you, Dr. Maratus, for the sharing the session with me. And I hope that this, although this topic is very simple, I do not expect a lot of questions because I believe every one of us already have, the process of generating the idea. But my rules of thumbs would be, remember, generate something that you really like. I think Dr. Maratus also agree with me. And then the second one is when making decision, think whether the resources or the constraint. Avoid constraint. Those that give you challenges, don't go for it. Those that could support you, yes, we'll go for it. Okay. So with that, I hope that all the master students, as well as my fellow PhD students, I hope that with the good idea that you have, you sail through the process and then you enjoy your studies in ITS for your master's and your PhD.
Thank you very much, Professor, for very insightful advice. Yes. Okay. Before I give back to Intan as the MC, Miss Nabila told me that before I end my session as a moderator, I have to give some conclusion or closing remarks. So please let me share to you some important insight that I get from Professor Chu's explanation. That in the first session, Professor Chu already shared about the requirement and standard for master and doctoral students in Malaysia. So it is advisable for participants to search and understand the requirement as well in Indonesian standard, or particularly at ITS as the institution. Why? Because it can help to manage the process of the study and to ensure that the student can achieve the expected goal during the study. And there are several factors need to be considered to choose the research topic, as called as 4M, 1T, and 1M to manage, that include manpower, materials, machinery, money, time, and method to manage. These factors can be resources, but also can be constraints. And a good idea generation, it started with the connect, logic, novelty, critical, conceptualize, reflect, and think hard. While in the session 2, we learned together about the 7 techniques to generate research ideas, started from research to topic analysis, which we have to choose the topic that interests us most, until the step 7 is talking to others, including your supervisor and peers. And in a final session, Professor Chu highlighted that the final insight we need to do in a research topic generation is we have to refine and evaluate research ideas by comparing our ideas with some checklist of attributes of a good research topic. And all participants can independently get the materials from Professor Chu's academia platform, because the platform share many materials that related to the research, and especially including the formulating and clarifying the research topic. So that's all from my summary. Hopefully it helped the participants to understand better about the topic. So once again, thank you very much, Professor Chu, for the sharing. Now I give back the Zoom to Intan as the MC. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Bu Maratus Saliha, for assisting in the meeting session. And also thank you very much for Professor Bun Chong Chu as our speaker today for the excellent lecture and Q&A session today. So everyone, please give applause to our speaker and moderator by using the Zoom reaction feature for today's amazing session. Okay, so then we would like to present a certificate awarding for our honorable speaker and moderator. So the first one, this is the certificate presented for Professor Bun Chong Chu as our speaker today. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also for Bu Maratus Saliha as our moderator today. Thank you very much, Bu.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Intan.
Terima kasih kembali. Okay, once again, thank you very much to our speaker and moderator for your availability on today's session. So we're almost on the end of today's session, but before that, I would like to invite all participants first, as well as the speaker and moderator to the group photo session. So everyone, can you please turn on your camera? Okay, so first I will. Okay, so so we have 3 slides here. So please keep on your smile until the group photo session is finished. Okay, so put on your smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so for the second slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, third slide. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, last one. We have fourth slide here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We finished the group photo. And for the participants, please fill the feedback form through the link that the committee also sent in the Zoom chat box. We want to remind you the participant who will get the stamp for it is the participant who come on time, join this event until the end, and fill the feedback form. And finally, we have reached the end of today's Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program, and we sincerely apologize for any mistakes we may have made in presenting as Master of Ceremony and Committee. Thank you very much for our speaker, moderator, and all participants for the attention and cooperation. And before we part, I would like to inform you that we still have several future agendas in RECEP for soft engineering stream. You can see it on the poster we are showing you right now, or you also can check it out on ITS Global Engagement website later. We will see you in the next session on Thursday, 7th October 2021. Once again, thank you everyone for today. Good evening and wabillahi taufiq walhidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam
everyone.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Pak Yahya.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Prof.
Professor.
Chu.
Thank you, Miss Intan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Intan. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you again, Prof. Chu. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nabila.
Mas Atus.
Take care ya, jaga diri baik-baik.
Yeah, thank
Sehat-sehat
you,
selalu,
Professor.
Prof.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Bapak Ibu, for attending the session.